Here we go. Hey everyone, Tina Hogan Grant here with my Cuppa A Natter that I like to do twice a month on a Monday. I like to bring authors into my home. We talk about books, writing, life as an author, and whatever comes to mind. And tonight I have the honor of Carol Van Den Hende joining me. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you. It's always such a pleasure to hang out with you and have a Cuppa A Natter.
I love this. Let's see this. The orchid right here. I love it.
Oh my gosh, of course. Yes, I have to have flower everything.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yes.
And I should introduce you as multi-award-winning author. I have to ask, how many awards have you won?
It's more than 32 now at this point. It was 32 for the first two books, and the Always Orchid has now, I think, 4 awards. So, yeah, I want to say 36. It's really
congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you. So kind. Yeah.
Before we get into your books, can you just give a little background on yourself, whatever you want to share with the rest of us that you feel okay with?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, so great to see everyone. And if you don't know me, I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce myself. I'm Carol Van Den Hende. Like many of you, I wear multiple hats in life. One of my hats is I do have a day job. I work for Mars Incorporated. So if you ever meet me in person, I will probably have chocolate for you. Just say, so come to New Jersey, come to Pennsylvania, come to an in-person event. It would be thrilling to see you. And then also another hat I wear is I'm a mom of twins, and that is relevant to my writing. I'll tell you in a moment. And then my third hat, I am an author, a speaker. I strive to give back in the community. I'm trained as a climate reality leader. I've served on boards of directors for a nonprofit school for kids with autism. And all of that just brings me so much joy, and it's really such a pleasure to be here with you. I'll just answer the one question I raised, which is the mom of twins thing. The reason it's relevant for the writing is the initial inspiration for me to start writing is that one of my twins has special needs. Okay. And as we were discovering that and going on that journey, that's really what got me to start writing again, even though that had been such an early childhood love.
Wow, you wear many hats indeed. I've got to ask, when do you find time to write? You have a full-time job, a full-time mom, plus the autism and everything else that you are with. I mean, when do you write?
I do not feel like I can find enough time. I don't know, Tina, if you feel the same issue, but I try to squeeze it in at night, on the weekends, early in the morning. It's just whenever I can find time.
Yeah. I tell myself I'm going to schedule something to sit just down and write, but I try and schedule it and something comes up. So It's like you. If I have an hour here, an hour there, I'll sit down and I'll write.
And I would say any readers out there who don't write themselves, because I know a lot of readers are writers also, but if you're a reader and don't write, I just, treasure the writers. And I'm not just saying for Tina and myself, but, books that you enjoy, writers that you like, it is such a commitment, a time commitment. It is, you're basically choosing to take huge portions of your life, outside of doing all the other things that you might do in order to try to put work out, in order to touch people's hearts.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I want to pause for just 1 minute. We have a few people joining us. I want to say hello. I'm sorry, I have a fly in my face. I'm sorry. All right, let's see. We have Karen here. She says hello. And I'm sure you know most of these people, if not all of them. Another Karen, she says hello. And then Lori.
Aww.
And Barbara Miller.
Yes,
Barbara. And Virgie Lane. And I know this person is in my group because it's private. So I want to say hello to you. Thank you for joining us. Cindy Guy. Kelly. She says hello again. I'm talking to Carol Van Den Hende. If you have any questions for Carol, go ahead and put them in the comments. I will get to as many as I can. Cindy says, twins, amazing. How old are your twins?
All right. So my twins are 20. And that is part of the answer when you say, how do I find time for writing? They're grown. So it does, free me up somewhat. And also I dedicated my first book to my husband because he does so much around the house. He does the laundry and the dishes and the grocery shopping. And he says he does it to allow me to be the best person I can be. So he really makes a lot of things possible in my life. Yeah.
He is very supportive.
He's
and
great.
He works full-time also?
Yep. Yep. He's trained as an engineer. He's a commercial manager. He negotiates contracts and he designs power plants. And he's also running for town council here. So both of us.
So you're about to, what do you do? Like wave as you like leaving the door, wave when you come back in,
We have to text each other.
There you go. Thank God for the phones, right? Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about your books. I'm excited for you because you do have book 3 coming out October 24th, which is next Tuesday.
Yes.
Yay. Always Orchid. This is book 3 in the Orchid series, correct?
Yes. Book 3.
Can we just go back to book 1 just briefly? I do want to just kind of get the whole picture for the whole series. Book 1, Orchid Blooming. Okay, that came out when?
So Orchid Blooming came out in 2022, a year ago. So it has just had its 1-year birthday. Happy birthday, Orchid Blooming.
Yay!
It's a prequel. It came out, even though it's book 1 chronologically, it came out after book 2.
That's what happened with mine. I did a prequel after the trilogy, so I totally get it. And then book 2 is Goodbye Orchid, and we have a cover. I've got to ask you about these covers in just a minute. The beautiful covers. And then book 3, Always Orchid, comes out Tuesday, October the 24th. Now I have a few questions I'm just going to round up, and you can answer them however you want. Number 1, what inspired this series? And number 2, are the characters from book 1 carried over into all 3 books?
Great questions, Tina. The short answer for the inspiration for the books is they're inspired by wounded veterans. Now, the longer answer, since we talked about my twins, the one with special needs who sparked me to start writing, during that time we were having a hard time with one of our twins, I saw stories in the news about combat wounded veterans. And it was really the strength and resilience that they demonstrated to get back to good that inspired me to start to imagine these characters that were incredibly real then and are continue to be incredibly real to me now. And they do carry through all 3 books. And so in the first book, in Orchid Blooming, you really get to meet Orchid Page. She is now an adult. She's a marketer, just as I've worked as a marketer for Mars Incorporated, running brands like M&M's and Twix and Three Musketeers, all kinds of fun brands. She gets to work in the beauty industry and she loves it. And she has wonderful friends, but she also has had tragedy as a child. So she lost her parents at a young age. And now as an adult, what she wants more than anything is to win a work trip to China to feel closer to the memory of her mother.
Oh, wow.
Now, the other character that you'll meet along the way in the series, and you'll really get to know, especially in Goodbye Orchid, is Phoenix Walker. He's the head of an ad agency, and it turns out Orchid, in order to win the work trip to China, needs more advertising experience. So she meets the handsome head of an ad agency, Phoenix. She convinces him to mentor her, and she's also promised herself to keep the relationship all work, except the chemistry is crazy between them. And so by Orchid, you have to find out what happens between them, especially, and this is where the combat wounded veterans come in, an accident befalls Phoenix that changes him forever. And when he wakes in the hospital, he is thinking about Orchid and longing for her. But he remembers, because of that tragedy as a child, she is sensitive to images of trauma. He looks down the hospital bed, realizes he's become the very image of trauma that will trigger her PTSD. And so he is facing the hardest decision of his life. To care for her, might he need to leave her without explaining why? Which is why it's Goodbye Orchid. Very heartbreaking, heartwarming.
Emotional and heavy.
It is heavy, although, I am such an optimistic person. And so I think readers will always find that there is such a, dose of optimism in my writing. In fact, when I started writing, I asked myself why, I do have a full-time job. I have twins. I'm busy.
Right.
What's the reason I write? And I wrote my own mission statement. And the mission statement I wrote was that I aim to inspire hope and empathy for people and planet. And that definitely comes through in the stories. And so although the topics and the subject matter, certainly they're real life things that people go through. But the work itself, it pays homage to those people. It pays homage to those experiences and really celebrates them in a way that is uplifting, in a way that is filled with optimism and hope and empathy.
And the subject matter, whether it be injury, a romance, a connection, relationships, most readers will relate to something in these stories.
That's good to hear. You know, I hear either from people who have been through medical difficulties and trauma who feel like they're seen on the pages of the Goodbye Orchid series, or I hear from people who haven't been through those things, and they say that the series actually deepens their empathy. They say, oh my gosh, what Phoenix goes through or what Orchid goes through with her PTSD, I didn't actually know, what that entailed. I just kind of knew very surface. Now you're showing it in such a real way that I get this deepened empathy from understanding that.
When you began this series, I understand you wrote a prequel. Were you expecting to write more than one book when you began this story, or just one book as you were writing, and you realized you had to write more?
So the audio was a little garbled, but I think you're asking how I came about deciding to write the prequel. And I hope for you, my audio is working.
Yeah, the audio is working fine on my end. Let's try this one more time. I'm sorry. When you started writing the book, the first book now, Orchid Blooming, did you know there's going to be more than one book? Or did that kind of unfold as you were writing and finished Orchid Blooming?
So here's the honest truth, what happened. When the debut book came out, I started going around to book clubs and meeting readers at libraries and bookstores. Book clubs told me after they read my debut novel that they wanted more of the story. They were like, this is great, but now you have to tell me what happened before page 1 and what happens after the last page. And so, in fact, when I went to visit that same book club in Summit, New Jersey, was my very first in-person book club because my debut came out during COVID. And so most of my events were virtual, but I did have some that were in person, including this one in Summit, New Jersey. I went back and I told that book club, the reason my book is now a trilogy is because of you. There were almost tears in their eyes, like to see what impact they have. And, I would say that for all the readers out there, it's wonderful to see Cindy and Virgie and Karen, like all the people that are on tonight. I just thank you so much. It's wonderful to be part of this community and know that you're reading, you're reviewing, you're sharing, you're giving us feedback to tell us what you like or don't like. Totally fine. All of it builds us to be stronger writers and builds this sense of community. So thank you for that.
Well said. I agree with you 100%. The support our readers give us is just overwhelming sometimes. I mean, I appreciate them every single day, and they're brilliant. With Always Orchid, which is coming, Orchid, Always Orchid coming out Tuesday, 24th. Does this continue on then with the story of Phoenix?
Oh my gosh. Wait till you guys get your hands on Always Orchid. It is going to blow your minds. And especially, I know a lot of you on here have read the books. Kelly, you said that you have the first 2. Always Orchid is just so beautiful and emotional. And, you asked about the characters, Tina. And of course, Phoenix and Orchid are big parts of Always Orchid. Okay. When I sat down, however, to start writing the sequel, a new character popped up on the page, unbeckoned. I didn't ask for
I can relate to that
to show up. I was going to write about Phoenix and Orchid, and all of a sudden this other voice, this strong character came up and said, you know what? My story needs to be told too.
And where did this person come from, right?
It is truly and I've had readers now, early readers who've been able to see Always Orchid before the release date, tell me that they love that this new character has shown up because now, and I'm happy to tell you a little bit about the character, especially when we do the reading. I think you'll hear his voice. So Phoenix's accident in Goodbye Orchid, what happens is he goes down to a train station, into a subway station in New York City. and he sees a homeless man about to jump onto the tracks, and he grabs him, pulls him back, and saves his life. But as a result, Phoenix ends up on the tracks himself.
Oh my.
And so this homeless man, his name is Roy. When I started writing the sequel, Roy raised his hand and said, "Wait, you have to tell about me too. You have to tell my story, my side, what happened from my point of view." And he has become such a powerful voice. In fact, the trilogy now has this amazing symmetry to it because the entire series is inspired by combat wounded veterans, and each portion of the story, each book tells another aspect of what can happen with combat wounded veterans or veterans in general. And so Orchid Blooming, although Orchid is not a military veteran, she suffers from PTSD from the trauma of losing her parents and witnessing the death of her parents at a young age. And then in Goodbye Orchid, the what befalls Phoenix in the train station is like a combat wounded veteran. And the reason I say always Orchid fits that same symmetry is that sometimes when veterans return and they're trying to acclimate back into civilian life, it can be really hard. It can be hard to find a job. And then, it's really quick to go down that spiral if you miss a mortgage payment, if you miss a rent payment,
Right.
to become homeless, to be temporarily unhoused is not a crime. It can happen to anyone.
Mhm.
And, it's a real issue for veterans returning. And
It
so
is.
I feel like it, to hear his story, to hear that Roy was a veteran, that he's become temporarily unhoused, and then the path he takes, that actually his journey is also sparked by that same accident that Phoenix was in. And to find out what happens to him is just, it's incredible.
I'm intrigued. So I'm assuming because Roy just showed up from out of nowhere, that you don't plot your books. You just kind of let the characters, that whoever pops up, leads the way.
So I would say there's a bit of a hybrid. And I know that writers tend to either be plotters, with really detailed outlines, or pantsers where they're writing by the seat of their pants. And I would say I'm somewhat between because you're right. There are characters that have just come to me.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think I do have a sense of the overall arc of the story. I do have a sense of where they're going. And I absolutely know the characters and what their goals are, their motivation, their conflict, their, childhood wound, the misbelief that drives them, the thing that they need to overcome, not just physically, in the exterior part of the story, but internally. What is it that they need to heal? What is it that they need to learn? What lessons are going to help them? And therefore, hopefully help readers, because I think that's what we
Mm-hmm.
get from reading, is that deep view from another person's viewpoint.
And the message that you're trying to give to your readers and what you want them to walk away with, whether it be hope. I think hope is a big one for your books, that they walk away with hope no matter what's going on in their life. Your books sounds to me like they give them a lot of hope, and to not give up, to keep pushing for what you want is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and I've definitely heard that from readers. And also, I also have so much respect that, readers can choose what they want to take out of each book. And it
That's
doesn't
true.
vary, and so I'm not going to be prescriptive about that. That's not my role. My role
Mm-hmm.
is to try to put as much authenticity and as much of, truth and honesty on the page, so that the readers feel the emotions and that they're, truly reflective and well thought out. I do a lot of research for my books because of the respect I have for the
Right.
people who've actually gone through experiences like the characters in my books.
Excellent. And Karen does have a question regarding the characters. I want to pop a couple of questions I keep seeing. This is one from Karen Geeling. She's asking, do your characters talk to you?
Oh my gosh, Karen. Okay, first of all, I will say my sanity is totally intact, but the answer is yes. And what I would ask everyone on this Zoom to do, or this, StreamYard to do, sign up for my newsletter at carolvandenhende.com/contact. And the reason I say that is I wrote about this exact thing in my last newsletter. I explained in my last newsletter that I was driving to the grocery store and all of a sudden both Orchid and Phoenix pop up in my car and they're like, "Hey." I was like, "Wait a minute. What?" And all of a sudden I look over. I know I'm supposed to be driving. I'm supposed to watch the road, but Chinese drivers don't have a good reputation anyway, so I'll just live up to that. So I look over and I'm like, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me. I was like, "Oh, you guys are here to say goodbye, aren't you?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're here to say goodbye." And I was like, I got so emotional in the car. And then Phoenix, so Orchid said, "Yeah, we're here to say goodbye." Phoenix pipes up and he goes, "And to tell you, you did a great job."
Aww.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think I'm gonna like be, crying and driving at the same time." They
It's
feel
emotional because I just 100% relate with you because the book of mine that came out yesterday, Dream Big, is the last book in the series, and it's been an 8-book series.
wow.
So to finally close that series and wrap it up, it was bittersweet, but it was emotional. And like you, these characters are real.
Yeah.
They are real to me. I
Yeah.
know everything about them, and and I hope that my readers do now. After 8 books, they better.
I've definitely had readers tell me that these characters seem real to them, that they can see them walking down the street, that they're like, they imagine them living their lives. And they should. These characters should continue to live their lives.
So always Orchid is the last book. Orchid is the last book.
It is. This is the finale. This is the end. This
It
is
is
the end.
bittersweet.
So it
It
definitely,
is so bittersweet.
yeah.
Lori has a question for you. She wants to know, did anyone in your family serve in the military?
Oh, Lori, it's such a good question. And I do not have anybody in my family who served in the military. Actually, I do need to correct myself. That's not true. My uncle's son graduated recently and yeah. So actually, I do. So it's so recent that I almost forgot about it. I do. But what I would say is that, even if I don't have hundreds of people in my family from the military, I do respect the work that they do. Protecting our country is so important. We look at how unstable the world is and what a wonderful country the US is. I just came back from a month in Ghana, and that's a whole other story, which we can talk about if you want. People there, when they hear that I'm from the US, are just filled with this, desire to come, knowing that it's such a wonderful place, saying such positive things about it. I think, we just, it always helps to be grateful. Of course, no place is perfect. No, country is perfect, but to be grateful for the things that are good, for the freedoms we have. I think that's important.
I agree with you. Be grateful for what we have, not what we don't have. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about your beautiful covers. Let's can you hold one up one by one? And then I have a question for you. But we have
Tell me.
Blooming is book 1. I love these covers. I do. Orchid Blooming and then Goodbye Orchid. Gorgeous and Always Orchid. Gorgeous covers. And Karen Geeling is asking, do you design these covers?
So I do not. And in fact, I have a lot of marketing experience. I spent 15 years running brands. And what that experience taught me is a lot of respect for the people who do design, and also quite a bit of depth of knowledge on how to brief designers to inspire the most, appropriate covers that will achieve breakthrough and meaning. So to catch attention as well as be appropriate for the content of the book. I teach classes on this. So I teach at writers' conferences. I've spoken at Writers Digest, Novelists Inc., Sisters in Crime, Rutgers Writers Conference, so many. I can't even name them all. And this is one of the classes that is really like a capstone class that I teach on how to brief designers and be a great collaborator with designers to get that beautiful design. And so it really was being able to share with the designer the emotional and physical journeys of the characters that inspired the first cover. So my debut novel is Goodbye Orchid. And this first cover, the orchids represent, you see how they're not whole, they're actually shattering. And the shattered orchids represent the physical and emotional shattering of the characters after the accident, what they go through. And then beautifully, the design is not just on the exterior. And these books have won awards for cover design, but also on the interior. So the bottom right corner of every page has an image of orchids, and the image of orchids will appear to shatter until you get to the end of the story. And then they visually come together for the emotionally satisfying ending. It's like a flip book feature inside the book.
Do all the books have that? I'm sorry. Do all the books have that?
Yep, they do. Yep. It's beautiful. It's like, yeah.
I love it.
Yep. So you definitely, if you got the ebook, you have to get the paperbacks or the hardcover just for that feature.
Yeah.
People have said that. Yeah. So run out with the paperbacks or hardcovers.
I love covers that, show a lot of thought, especially when it comes to the outline of the book. And then to have the author give the background to the design just adds volumes to it. So the fact that you mentioned that the orchids, are not one bloom, the shattered, makes so much sense.
And since we're talking about design, okay. Yes. So underneath the hardcover, underneath the jacket is also this gorgeous, the same. It's printed. It's not only on the jacket, it's printed underneath as well.
Because most books underneath the jacket are just plain.
Yes.
They don't have a print.
And okay, so if anyone out there is, because I hear the questions about the military, if anyone out there would like, there's a one special edition version of Always Orchid hardcover. Typically the front cover has a beautiful quote from Kristen Higgins talking about how, these books have real characters with real challenges and real emotion. And I love Kristen. I love that she blurbed my book. I'm so grateful. There is one special edition version in which Sergeant Noah Galloway, who's loved the book as well, and his quote is on the front cover of this special edition hardcover. And he talks about how Always Orchid represents the strength of the human spirit. And it touches me so greatly because Sergeant Noah Galloway himself represents the strength of the human spirit. If you don't know him, I don't know if you've watched Dancing with the Stars.
I have not, no.
So he is a war veteran who was injured in Iraq. His Humvee was blown up by an IED, an improvised explosive device. And he woke up in the hospital to find that he had lost his left arm and his left leg. And his jaw was wired shut during that because the injuries, affected his jaw as well. So he couldn't even speak. When they told him, they said, "You can't talk. We're going to tell you what happened." And he's just like crying these silent tears and not even able to speak. But, from that really like life-shattering moment, truly life-shattering, he has, found his way through, and with some really dark times. And he talks about in his own memoir. You can pick up his memoir, No Excuses, it's called. In his own memoir, he talks about the dark times he goes into and how actually he came out of it with the help of course, family and friends, but a lot with fitness, getting back into working out. In the beginning, he was actually too shy to even work out during the day at his gym because he didn't want people to stare at his prosthesis. And but after a while, he became comfortable and really like very comfortable in his own skin. And now he is such a humanitarian and he publicly speaks on these issues. He's so articulate. He's just incredible. And so it just, talk about being touched. On the 4th of July, on Independence Day, he emails me to say, "I love the book and here's my quote, and you can use my quote. You can put it on the cover of your book." So if people are out there and they are, they have people in their family who are military, or you resonate with the military, just message me. You can message me on my website at carolvandenhende.com/contact and ask me. I can, autograph a copy for you. And I can tell you the details about how much it'll cost and shipping and all that.
Right.
So feel free to contact me if you want that special edition. That's
excellent. And what an honor. What an honor. And this man sounds amazing and such an inspiration to others.
Yeah, really true. I'm so lucky. There have been multiple Purple Heart decorated veterans who've endorsed the series. Sergeant Brian Anderson, Navy Corpsman Doc Jacobs. I had Sergeant Major Commander Dennis Smith endorse my books. Like just incredible. The CEO of USA Cares, Trace Chesser, wrote a beautiful review for my series. It's just so touching.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm looking at the time. Are you ready to read to us?
Okay, sounds good. Let's do.
I'm excited. We're going to get a live read from Carol, so I'm going to be quiet and hand it over to you. Which book are you reading from? You're going to read from,
the brand new one, Always Orchid. So here, I talked about the character that showed up on the page. He showed up on page 1. Right here on page 1. So in the prologue, we're going to hear from Roy, 9 months ago, New York City. Hope is a finite resource for the homeless. Each handout and act of petty theft had whittled away Roy's dignity. Averted eyes and wrinkled noses had snubbed him, deemed him less than human. As for Roots, his mother's death had eviscerated his last reserve. And so today wasn't goodbye. Today he would join Mama. Today, he hoped, would be a reunion. His brain whirred with enough bourbon to execute his plan. Giant metal wheels clacked through distant subway tunnels. The next train would be his. He tipped a paper-wrapped fifth of Old Crow to his cracked lips. Not a drop left. Never mind, nevermore. Roy hadn't always been homeless. After high school, Roy had enlisted as a corporal, his first step towards independence. He had smoothed his Army-issue uniform and snuck into the bathroom to admire his reflection. Military khakis camouflaged his scrawny build. His shave was so close his pale cheeks gleamed. This proud memory made him wince when he spotted a good-looking man in a crisp white shirt and smart pants bounding down the subway stairs. The man, handsome and well-disposed, pushed through the turnstile, turned in Roy's direction, and ran a hand through his dark hair. His confident stride said that somewhere this guy's opinion mattered. He drew closer, clearing a little of Roy's foggy ruminations. So you might be able to guess who that handsome man is that shows up in the subway station while Roy is ruminating on what he's about to do.
I have a feeling.
Yes.
Sounds amazing. I want to put up some comments. Interesting and intriguing reading. I could listen to you all day.
Thank you, Karen Wright, PA. So amazingly, Audible just made live the Always Orchid audiobook is on Audible, and I am the narrator. So you can listen to 10 hours of Always Orchid.
Did you narrate all 3?
I narrated the debut and Always Orchid. With Orchid Blooming, when it came out, I did not have time. It is a very big time commitment. I did not have time to narrate. So there's a service where you can have an automated reader. If you want Orchid Blooming on audiobook, you can go to Google Play and you can try it. You can listen and see if you're okay with it. It is definitely not the same as a human reader, for sure.
It's not. It's AI. But I remember you telling me about you doing the first book and the time it took. Yeah. I'm amazed where you would find the time. I mean, my book's being narrated right now by a person. Mm-hmm. But the equipment that you need, the time, and the editing alone. Yeah. I mean, she's explaining to me that because you have to give it a certain level. I'm not a narrator, but if you just get that pitch up a little bit, you can pick it up. And she has to go in there and cut it and edit it. That alone scares me. So,
I mean, I hire people for everything, right? So I really respect professionals. really professional editor for the audiobook, professional editing, multiple layers of editing, for the books themselves. I mean, these books, I don't know if readers realize how much of an investment these books are. And I don't know if it's the same for you, Tina, but maybe just between us friends, like it's literally tens of thousands of dollars for me per book.
It's not cheap.
So I would just
I'm
say,
self-published. I think you go through a publisher, correct? You go through a publisher.
Kohler Books did my first one, and then I did the next two just to learn the publishing side myself more. I did do the next two, but I just, I think the point is it's a huge investment, and so I would just say, readers, be generous with authors, and buy our books, and please, and tell others, because we put a lot into these.
We really do, and you're so correct when we say we wear multi hats. And my first book, my debut novel, Reckless Beginnings, that went through a publisher, but it didn't work for me. I mean, we all have reasons what doesn't work and what does work, but for me, my issue was control. I wanted control of my book, and when I want to put my book on sale, I want to be able to put it on sale and not have a publisher tell me, "Well, we can do it in probably 6 weeks," or when we get around to it, when all it is, when I discovered. When I self-published my second book, it's just a flick of a switch. It's not 6 weeks of work. But anyway, little things like that, that's why it didn't work for me. And I absolutely love being in control of my books and running my business, which it is. It is my business. I love writing, I love reading, but this is a business. And I love the readers, I love the support. But yeah, it ain't cheap.
No, it's not. And for me, I do have a full-time job, so I'm not trying to put my kids through college with this. But what I do want to do is to raise money for USA Cares, for Heather Abbott Foundation. USA Cares helps military families, veterans and their families. And so that's why I want, more people to know about this whole series, to be able to, to be able to help fundraise. And now there's a military family bookstore that is carrying the entire Orchid line. It's called militaryfamilybooks.com, and then /Orchid will get you to all 3 books. And that supports a military family. Like, this family has just given so much, and I really appreciate and love them.
What a great cause. I love that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I do want to pop up some comments when you were reading. We got, like she says, Virgil Lane says, great reading. Cindy says, thanks for reading to us. You are so multi-talented. I wanted to pop at these. I love the live reading. Thank you for the reading. You have a wonderful voice.
Aww.
Okay, so Always Orchid comes out next Tuesday, October the 24th. Did you know how these 3 books are going to end, or was that a surprise for you?
I had a sense where they were going to end, but there were still surprises along the way. And especially with my first book, because, when you're new to writing, I think you're exploring a lot of things. I did play with different endings. I will say, here's something interesting about endings. If, and readers love those really emotionally satisfying endings. And so Always Orchid, all 3 of them can be read as standalone. So if you haven't started the series, feel free. If you want to jump right in and start with Always Orchid, you can. It will tell you the backstory. You will understand everything, and has a very emotionally satisfying ending. However, as a bonus for people who have ordered Always Orchid, if you send me a receipt, and people have already been sending them to me, I am going to, the week of the release, send a special cutting room floor secret epilogue that is not in the published book, but you will get if you send me a receipt showing that you bought Always Orchid. And it is amazing and emotional and beautiful, and you're gonna love it. So definitely try that.
The ebook, the paperback, audio, are they all available for pre-order right now?
Yes, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, ebook are all available. And if you want signed copies, then just direct message me, and we can do the signed copies that way. Yeah. The other thing I just remembered, because people are mentioning enjoying the reading, so thank you for that. There on my YouTube channel, there are 2 different audio retail samples. I was trying to choose between them. So there's the prologue, which you heard from, which is, right at the beginning of Always Orchid. That's one retail sample. There's another retail sample that's from the beginning of chapter 1. They're each just 4 minutes long. So feel free to go listen to them on my YouTube channel and subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're there.
You have to put some of these links in the comments if you have time afterwards. Put them on, because I'd love to go check them out too. That sounds. Yeah. I really. This is a nice comment I want to put up. Carol says, my daughter is in a 7-year Navy veteran and now works in a VA hospital working with PTSD.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank your daughter for her service. That is, really important work. One of the chapters I've written actually takes place at Walter Reed Medical Center. There's a chapter in Goodbye Orchid. And when veterans read that chapter, they ask me, have you been to Walter Reed Medical Center? Because you've captured, not only the physical space, but also the smells, the sound, the banter between the soldiers. And I say, no, I've never been, and it's because I do a lot of research. I watch videos, I read books to really get a sense of places and people and to be able to recreate that.
Put the readers right there in it. I know how you told me how supportive your husband is. I love that he cooks for you, does the laundry, and has a full-time job. Does he read your books?
So he has read Goodbye Orchid, but he has not read all 3. How about your husband, Tina? What does he do?
He does. Yeah. He does read them, which I appreciate. And a few of them, he's in them. So,
gosh,
read those. Because the Tammy Mellow's trilogy, my debut trilogy, is based on my life. I mean, everything in the books happened.
I see.
So of course you read those. And then the last book of the Sabella series, I actually brought us into the Sabella series, into a fictitious world that I had created to meet my characters.
Oh, that's so interesting.
And it was so much fun. I bought, the 2 books, the 2 trilogies, one's a trilogy, one's a series, but I brought them together in the finale of the Sabella series, meeting my characters. And it was really cool. I wanted to try it, and I love the way it turned out. I do.
I love that, Tina. That is so fun. And people should definitely check out your series. And 8 books in a series. That's just truly an incredible.
Yeah, it was supposed to be 1, and I'm surprised it turned out to be 8. I mean, I'm thrilled that it did, because I really, really, like I said, know these characters. But now I'm starting something new, and it's such a joy. I'm going to miss those characters, but it's nice right now. I'm starting a new book. I'm on chapter 9. And I'm getting to know these new people, these new characters, and they're telling me their new stories. And it's refreshing. I'm excited about it. Speaking of which, how about you? Have we started something new, or we have ideas for something new?
I do have ideas for something new. And also, I just want to build, though, just a moment ago when you were talking about bringing you and your husband into your series, it did remind me that actually, although I didn't create a character based on my husband, aspects of him do show up. For instance, his sense of humor is probably why I married him. He makes me laugh every day. And that sense of humor is actually a big way that Phoenix gets through his accident and how life-changing that is, by trying to have a sense of humor about it, maybe being the first one to crack a joke about what's happened to him when other people are like afraid to say anything, and so it just reminded me. But thanks for asking about, new work to come. So I'm, in case anybody's listening and not looking at the camera and maybe doesn't realize, especially with my Dutch last name, Van Den Hende, I'm an Asian American author. I was born in the US, but my ancestry is Chinese. My parents are from Shanghai. And it has such an interesting, it's a well-known story, like how, it caused this big flight from China when the communists took over China. So 1949, if I have the timing right, it really impacted my family. And so I'm really interested in that time. So what happened was, as the communists took over, people who were more well-educated, maybe who had land or money, felt that they were at risk. And so they were fleeing. My mother's side of the family fled to Taiwan. And my father's side of the family fled to Hong Kong. And then they both ended up emigrating here to the US, which is where my parents ended up meeting. Now that but the thing is, that's one small example, and it was happening on a mass scale. And it caused so much fracture in families because sometimes families would end up on one side of the border
Mhm.
or the other side of the border. And so I think there's something so interesting there. And of course, a lot of stories have been told about that period, but I'm working on something that's really, it's deeply rooted in what actually happened in my family, but also has a lot of fiction in it, to be
Mhm.
able to tell these broader stories. Because I think that's what readers, love in my series is this ability to relate to characters on the page, even
Right.
if they themselves haven't been through what the characters have been through. And I think that'll be the case for this fourth novel that I'm working on too.
Exciting. And you started writing it?
I'm not 9 chapters in. I'm jealous. That's really good. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Are you going to do NaNoWriMo?
I've been wanting to do that ever since I had my debut novel out in 2018, and I have yet to do it. Have you done it?
I did it once, and there's a sense of community. There's a feeling, and in
Mhm.
case anybody who's on the line doesn't know, National Novel Writing Month is what NaNoWriMo stands for. In
Makes sense.
November, writers commit to writing 50,000 words, I think it is. Which if you write, I don't know, 1,700 words a day or something, you can hit that. But it is, so it's a commitment. I think there's a sense of a lot of people doing it together, which maybe can give you some, momentum, if that's something that's helpful. I don't know that it's, I don't know. I'm so motivated internally anyway, just in life, like whether it be writing or speaking or work or whatever. So I don't know if I'm not planning on signing up for it, but it's great to know lots of people are writing when you're
And
writing.
I also, even from these interviews and talking to other authors, they have done it and they have gone on to finish and edit it and clean it up and actually publish what they wrote. They said it inspired them to not only write a book, but continue on as a series. A lot of times happens when we write just one book, but it did inspire them to, sometimes a first time author inspired them to write the book and finish it and get it published.
That's great.
So I
Yeah.
think that's brilliant. I really do. I think that's brilliant. Vicky says, I love the Orchid books and the care and thought that goes behind them.
Aw, thank you, Vicky. I appreciate that. Thanks
So
for
Always Orchid comes out next Tuesday. Are you doing anything to celebrate?
So, for anyone who lives in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, I have 6 in-person events coming up.
My goodness.
Maybe more. I maybe have lost count. So tomorrow I'm going to my hometown library. I graduated high school from West Caldwell, New Jersey. So I'll be at my hometown library tomorrow at 6. There's a retirement center there who has hosted me before and loves me. They're having me back on the same day. And they, actually, one of the women there, after she bought my book, she said that, it was the best book she's ever read in her whole life. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
What an honor.
Yeah, really touching, really touching. And then Wednesday, I'm going to be in Totowa. Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing. So there's a book club called the Literary Libationists. They hosted me, for Goodbye Orchid earlier this year. When I showed up, they had decorated this wine lounge. So first of all, it's in a wine lounge. The place was decorated with orchids. They had a custom cocktail menu where every drink was named after a character in the book. They had custom, even though the backs of my books have book club questions, they had custom questions they created for me. They bought me this gorgeous orchid scarf. Like they just went all out. They picked up on all these little references. One of the references in the book is a Chinese liquor that Orchid and Phoenix enjoy called baijiu. They bought a whole bottle of baijiu so that we all could have a shot and toast each other in Chinese. Like it was just amazing. So I'm going to be there on Wednesday to celebrate the launch of the book. Then I'm at a bookstore on Saturday. Next week I'm at libraries and bookstores, and yeah, it's really fun.
Sounds exciting. How about at home? You're going to be doing anything at home to celebrate?
Sleep? I don't know.
Good answer.
Celebrate. Maybe I can get some ideas from you, Tina, because you are a much more prolific writer than me. You are so much farther along in your career. So give me some tips. Tell me.
Tips on what to celebrate?
Yeah, how do you celebrate?
Normally it's online. I'm in your group on the 20th of this month. I'm in your group, and I do takeovers. But as far as I live in the mountains, I live up in the boonies, away from society. So for me to do in person is not that easy unless I get in my car and drive. But I do like the local library. I didn't do it for this book. I did it for the trilogy, all three of them. And I've done Barnes and Nobles. But a lot of it is online. I like to reach people online because I'm in the boonies. So that is my way of getting myself out there. Is a lot of it is online.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it works. But I would like to, and I said this before, I would like to maybe next year, because COVID got in the way, do a road trip and just do a road trip to some local bookstores across state. Spend a month just traveling with my books and making appointments at local bookstores. I mean, my husband has talked about this, but our issue is animals. You can't just ask anyone to take care of 5 falcons for a month.
Right.
You can't ask, to stay at your house for a month, so leaving our house empty for a month. Yes, I could go by myself, but do I feel comfortable traveling cross country by myself? No. So there's all these issues, but it's something I really like to do, and especially all these beautiful readers that, support me, support you, support the reading community. I would love to go to some of these little towns where they live and go to their local bookstore and actually meet them in person. And it's something I've been talking about for the last year and a half. And, if I can figure it out and plan it, that I can leave comfortably, can leave the animals with people, have my husband go with me, then yes, I'd love to do it.
I think you should. That sounds wonderful. And indie bookstores are such special places. That's another place to support is the indie bookstores. They do it out of the love too. I spent time when I was in San Diego.
Right.
I was at Coronado Bay Books in Coronado, California. And they were like, you know what? We don't make much money. Like we barely just squeak by. Like we just keep doing it because we love it.
And that's the other thing is the expense. I would like to do the LA Book Festival. They want $1,800 for a booth. Like, good grief. But, I'll look at some little craft fairs and stuff like that. But as you said, it's expensive. Yeah. It is expensive. And a cross-country trip would not be cheap. But if I want to do anything, it's going to be that. It's going to be a way to take 30 days road trip and go, see some of these people. That's what I'd like to do. That is, and make it happen. I like what Karen wrote. She wrote, "I'll come with you, Tina." I love it. I'll come pick you up, Karen. She said that's a lot of money. Yeah, I've looked at some, like the LA Book Festival, the San Diego California, of course, the San Diego Book Festival. And if I wanted to do just 2 booths, it's over $3,000 just for those 2. It's like, sure, I got that money just right here, It's crazy. It is.
It's hard to warrant it. And, maybe people think a book is, sometimes people tell me they think a book is expensive, like, oh, $20 or $30. Like, but if you think about how much, like all the numbers Tina's talking about, that I've talked about, like it is a drop in the bucket for how much we've put in. And then that's just like the hard dollars we put in. We're also putting in like years of our life. Yeah. Like thousands of hours. I actually was thinking today that I've now, Malcolm Gladwell talks about to get to expert level at something, you need to probably put in 10,000 hours of, work, like actual practice, actual doing it. I've now at this point surpassed that 10,000 hour mark, so
you start thinking about editing, software. It does add up. But we love what we do. This, I look at what what it costs to get, and the feeling of pride when you see your books on the bookstores. I have my books in indie books. Indie bookstores are fantastic. Yeah. And they're brilliant. And I have my books in many indie bookstores, and just the pride and the reviews you get from readers, that makes it all worth it for me. The reviews these readers write, the support they give us, coming to our chats, coming into the groups, following us. I mean, it makes it all so worthwhile. And it's why, like yourself, you said, it's why I continue to write.
Yeah, for me, it's really about touching hearts and minds. Mm-hmm. And the way it shows up is that it's told through the reviews and through the word of mouth and, letting us know. But it really is, wanting to connect with people in a way. Really connecting with hearts and minds for me.
There you go. I like Carol's idea. I've got to pop this up. It kind of made me chuckle. This would be cheap. She says, hop on your Harley trike and sell your fabulous books. I can go cross country on my motorcycle. There we go. Me and my husband take our bikes. Because my trike has a trunk. So I can put on.
There you go.
There you go. But only a little trunk. Carol, this has been a wonderful chat, as always. But what I like to ask authors before we close out, number one, I didn't get to a lot of questions because I just fascinated talking to you. So if you have a chance, go through the comments on my author page and in the group, any questions that we missed that you want to answer, feel free to answer them. But also, before we close this out, what advice do you give to an aspiring author or writer that would like to get published? What advice can you give them?
So one piece of advice I often give when I speak at writers' conferences, and I talk about the concept of brand, actually, about personal brand. I think that it's really important for a writer to know their why, the reason they're writing, because of all of the realities that Tina and I are talking about, that it could take a month of your life if you want to do a book tour of indie bookstores around the US, that it could take, lots of time and money and effort and just, really pouring your life into these books. And so I think it's important to know your why, because that's going to keep you going in times that might seem, hard. And I ask writers this one question when I help them with their own personal brand. It's their inspiring purpose question. And you can ask this of yourself, even if you're not a writer, because you don't need to answer this question just about writing. But for whatever you're doing in your life, the inspiring purpose question is, what is the reason you do what you do beyond the obvious profit and functional purposes? So think about that. I mean, Tina, do you have an answer for yourself? Like how, when you think about your author life, why do you do what you do beyond the obvious profit and functional purposes?
Yes, a very good question. And when my debut novel, Reckless Beginnings, I had the idea for that in my 20s. And it was finally published when I was 54, 30 years later. And for me, it was a message that I had for women that had been in the same position that I had been in. And I wanted to get it out because I couldn't find any books on the subject matter. And basically what it was, my life was dictated by a heroin addict. And I found plenty of books for the addict on how to get clean. But I couldn't find any books to help the person live with an addict and how did they cope and what did they do? Because your self-esteem is down here. You think that you just have to settle. And that's not the issue. But anyways, so that's why I wrote that book. But for me, it was also therapy. Now, if my book helped me and it made me realize the decisions I made, I knew it was going to help other women in the same situation. And that is what began my career. And then I realized I had more to say in the trilogy. And now what keeps me writing is I just love connection with the readers. And I love reading about the joy that I'm bringing them. And for me, that is enough. That's enough right there just to sit down and write more stories. Because the satisfaction I get when I hear what the readers think is fantastic. And the Sabella series is a suspense romance. Yes, it has bits and pieces of my life, which I didn't realize until after I wrote the book. Oh, that's me. Oh, that's so-and-so.
Yep, I can relate to that.
And I like the creativity, keeping my mind busy, keeping it working. I'm not creative when it comes to arts and crafts, drawing, painting, anything like that. But I do love to write. So that keeps my creative side of my brain busy.
I love that. And I think, so much of what you said about like writing in order to realize that you've touched somebody, I can really relate to too. Yeah. Beautiful answer.
Yeah, excellent. And I do want to talk about your giveaway. You are generous. You're doing a giveaway for us, which I really appreciate. So I'm going to let you tell our readers what the giveaway is.
So I'm looking forward to having a winner who's been on tonight, who's been commenting. Thank you so much, to be able to win one of my ebooks of your choice, whether it be Orchid Blooming or Goodbye Orchid or Always Orchid.
Yay!
Very happy to be able to give you an ebook. So, or potentially an audiobook if that's a preference. Yeah.
Okay, so they can choose. You want me to
Or
pick a
audiobook,
winner?
yes.
I'll have them let you know which one. And you've asked me to pick a winner for you.
Yes.
So I would do that, and then later this evening we'll discuss the winner, and then I would tag the winner in the group and on the author page. Carol, this has been so much fun. I really enjoyed this. I cannot wait to see what comes out next, what you're working on, and keep me posted. We'll get you back on.
Wonderful. Thanks. Same to you, Tina. Can't wait to see your next as well.
And readers, as always, thank you so much for joining us. And I will be in the group. Oh, wait. Before you go, I do a regular giveaway also. I almost forgot. My $5 Amazon giveaway. I'm doing that. Most of you know how this works. You go to my author page and you share this video. You share it in your favorite groups. You share it with your friends. Wherever you want to share it, tag me so I know that you shared the video, and you will be in the drawing for a $5 Amazon gift card. So thank you again, Carol. It's been a great night. And everybody, good night.
Great seeing everyone. Bye.
Bye.